Great to see everybody today. Welcome back to the KingCast. I'm a little sad today. Our last KingCast of the season. Season 3, episode 18. Well done, everybody. That's a lot of stuff. I think I calculated yesterday 9 hours of content we created this year. So the end of our third season for the KingCast. We'll be back in the fall, if we're allowed, of course. So great to have you with us. As always, I'm your host, Frank Roche, from the King Economics Division of the Social Sciences Department. With me today, as always, my great team, Nicole Roer, Lily Ryan, Jake Murphy, and back after a couple weeks of absence, Jack Zipper. Good to see you again, my man.
Good to be back.
Good to have you. How was crew for the past couple of weeks?
It was good. It was good.
Yeah. The weather was a little cold the past couple of weeks, Jack. How was it on the water?
It was good. We last week we didn't go. It was cold and it was really windy, so we ended up staying inside a little bit more.
On the ergs.
Yeah.
As always, we have some fantastic topics for us. COVID and the lockdowns have presented us from an economics perspective with two unusual events at the same time: demand shocks and supply shocks. We talk about these things in our AP classroom and how it impacts economies. And very unusual to have these dual events. We talk about the supply shocks of the 1970s, the Arab-Israeli war, the American hostage crisis. And now we're still struggling through supply shocks as a result of the lockdowns and our dependency on trade with Asia, primarily China. And what's at the forefront of that today for many, many businesses in America is the semiconductor industry and the lack of chips that are in so many things that we use, from autos down to toasters. And so it's become a real issue for us. And Nicole Roer spent some time checking out this week. Nicole, what's the story with the semiconductor chips? Do we have a shortage?
Yeah, so thanks, Mr. Roche. As most people know, a shortage of semiconductor chips is having broad impacts across many industries and is now expected to slow economic growth and lead to higher inflation. Semiconductor chips are electronic circuits that store or process data. Anything that is computerized or uses radio waves depends on semiconductors. As the Internet of Things and the digitization of everyday life continues to grow, semiconductor chips have been incorporated in more and more products. Nowhere is this more pronounced than cars, where electronic content per car has increased from $312 in 2013 to $460. With the transition to electric vehicles and autonomous cars, the electric content is expected to grow over $1,000 per car. And demand for electronic products continues to run hot, with the economy being pumped up with stimulus and loose monetary policy. We know from economics that growing demand pushes out the demand curve, leading to more products being produced by suppliers along with higher prices. However, the story doesn't end there. At the same time that chips are being used in more and more products, there's also been a supply shortage developing. So while the demand curve is shifting out, the supply curve is shifting in. This will mean even higher prices but limited supply growth. While low inventory of new cars from the chip shortage is getting a lot of press, there are many other products that are in scarce supply. We're starting to see shortages in computers, TVs, appliances, and medical devices, as all electronics are becoming smart by being connected to the internet. You may be asking, well, why is there a supply shortage of semiconductor chips? There are so many contributing factors, it's hard to know where to begin. But let's start with the short-term factors. First, there have been disruptions to the supply chain caused by the pandemic. However, strangely, there were also 2 fires in Japan over the last year that damaged a facility that makes special fiberglass used for printed circuit boards. And there was another one that damaged a plant where advanced sensing devices used in automotive and other industries were manufactured. There have also been shortages of shipping containers and air freight systems that have had limited supply, with the pandemic-related drop in passenger travel, which has meant fewer passenger planes available to carry freight. The grounding of the Boeing planes with Pratt & Whitney engines has also further constrained air freight capacity. Finally, Trump's hard line against Chinese technology firms, such as Huawei and ZTE, also contributed to the shortage for US companies as they were cut off from Chinese chip manufacturers. But these are only the short-term factors, and chip shortage has actually been in the making for years. Many semiconductor companies became fabless, meaning they outsourced their manufacturing to other companies. Because of economies of scale, bigger chip manufacturers had significant advantages, and the industry became an oligopoly. These companies have also been optimizing their utilization. By operating at close to 100% utilization, they cannot easily increase output. Chip manufacturing is a meticulous process with highly specialized precision equipment, clean rooms, etc. Even the slightest imperfection can radically affect the quality of the manufactured chip. It costs billions of dollars to build new capacity, and this will take time. Intel said yesterday that it expects the global chip shortage to last about 2 years. The situation has become so serious that even President Biden has stepped in. He signed an executive order last month calling for a review of the shortage and its impact on different industries. Biden's infrastructure plan also includes $50 billion for semiconductor manufacturing and research in the US. These efforts highlight the strategic importance of semiconductors, but it is unlikely to lead to any quick fix.
Okay, a lot of details here, Nicole. A lot of moving parts in the semiconductor industry from the supply chain alone, from around the world, and the components that are put together here. Given this chip shortage, Nicole, what do you think we can expect in the coming future, say the next 6 months or so?
Yeah, so I expect chip shortage will continue to weigh on various industries for some time. Anecdotally, I was told that someone looking to replace a dishwasher couldn't find one because of the chip shortage. Cars are selling at or higher than MSRP, and we're still in the early innings of this shortage. So I would expect low supply and higher prices for some time for all products using semiconductor chips.
I can imagine if we looked at the charts, semiconductor component companies are probably big in terms of their stock prices. All right, great report as always, Nicole. All right, moving on now. Lily Ryan has done some work on a current event in the past week. President Biden continues to unveil his policies here in his first 100 days. And he has decided that in order to raise money for the Green New Deal, he's going to raise capital gains taxes on wealthy Americans. Not something most people like. And this is a pendulum that swings back and forth between Republicans and Democrats when they get control of the Congress and the presidency. Republicans drop taxes, and Democrats raise taxes. Lily, tell us what happened here with President Biden's capital gains tax.
So Bitcoin and other digital currencies plunged on Friday as President Joe Biden proposed a tax increase on capital gains, which led to a wave of selling. On April 23rd, Bitcoin was down 7.3% at $49,730. This marks the first time Bitcoin has been traded below $50,000 since early March. Other notable drops include Ether, which fell 8% to $2,320, and XRP, the fifth largest cryptocurrency, plunged 16%. This wiped out more than $200 billion of value from the whole cryptocurrency market. President Joe Biden is expected to raise long-term capital gains for the wealthy Americans to 43.4%, including a surtax. That would be higher than the top federal tax rate on wage income. The new tax rate would apply to returns on assets held in taxable accounts and sold after more than a year. Investors currently pay 23.8% top rate on long-term capital gains. That includes a 20% capital gains tax on assets held in taxable accounts for more than a year. It also includes a 3.8% surtax on net investment income, which was created by the Affordable Care Act to fund Medicare expansion. Under current law, long-term capital gains are taxed favorably with respect to wages. The wealthy pay a top 37% rate on wage income. Because of this expected increase, a sell-off in stock markets was triggered. All of the three major US indexes ended in red on Thursday. Analysts said fears over Biden's capital gains tax proposal may be extending to crypto investors who have had a great year with the price of Bitcoin having climbed more than sixfold in the last 12 months. Anthony Trenchev, co-founder of crypto lender Nexo, said, "It would make even greater sense to play the oldest trick in the manage your finances smart book, borrow against your assets to avoid capital gains taxes." In 2021 alone, Bitcoin has risen 66%, while Ether has risen over 200%. The support for cryptocurrencies has progressed because of the increased buy-in of Bitcoin by institutional investors, which I've spoken about in past KingCast episodes. An example of one of these companies is Tesla. Due to the popularity, banks are also trying to allow their clients to get involved in the Bitcoin market. And in March, Morgan Stanley said it was launching access to 3 funds that enable ownership in Bitcoin.
Okay, so great connection point there, Lily, between tax proposals and what is a craze right now in the crypto market. And of course, this didn't just hit cryptocurrencies, right? It hit the stock market. It's going to be a concern about asset holders in terms of art, in housing, in classic automobiles. And one thing that bothers people on the right about the capital gains tax is the idea that we generate income, which is taxed. From that income, we generate savings. From that savings, we generate investment. And so this is thought of as double taxation. And so the higher that goes, the worse that becomes. The defense is, of course, this is only going to hit a very tiny percentage of Americans. Lily, let me ask you, what would happen if Biden's proposed bill were to pass?
So if the bill were to pass, a segment of taxpayers would incur significantly higher tax bill for the long-term capital gains, which occur when you sell a coin after holding it for a year. The high-income taxpayers may also include crypto holders sitting on large unrealized long-term gains, wanting cash out those positions before the higher tax rate kicks in. Therefore, we may see a larger sell-off by crypto holders, larger than these losses right now, before the new rules come into effect.
Okay, good point there. You're touching on the timing of that, Lily. And the tax is not going to be passed in 2021, that's for certain. So 2022, 2023 possibly. So investors don't have to act irrationally right now, but it's something they have to keep on their mind if they want to keep more of their gains rather than less. All right, great reports by the two of you. It's always been a great year in keeping connected with the hot topics in the economy and finance. And now it's time for my favorite spot. You know what it is. It's time for
What did we learn this week?
All right, we're going to start with Mr. Murphy today. Jake, what'd you learn in the classroom this week?
This was an interesting week for me because we're basically doing a lot of review as it's like, the second to last week before school's over. But yet still, Mr. Hyatt manages to teach us new things every single day. And I learned something that's especially crazy today. So we were learning about pendulums, sort of like one of those old clocks that swings back and forth. And what we learned is that actually as long as a pendulum is the same length, it doesn't matter how far back you pull it. If it's like from here or from all the way up here, it'll always take the same amount to go back and forth once. Because if you think about it, from up here, it gets more speed, but from down here, it has less distance, and it will always be the exact same amount of time, which is just crazy. I thought that was weird.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Mr. Hyatt, is he the all-star of the KingCast season 3?
We do get a lot of stuff. Well, it is AP Physics, so of course it's going to be what did we learn this week?
And of course, the other thing is we have fewer contacts with teachers given our quarter system, right? Normally you might have 5 or 6 teachers to pick from. Today, I think we have 2 to 4 teachers to pick from. So anyway, but he was the star of the year, I'm pretty sure. Jack, what'd you learn this week?
So in biology, we started learning about natural selection and like the sorts of mechanisms of natural selection. So that was pretty interesting.
Natural selection is that the best survive, basically. Is that it, Jack?
It's deemed survival of the fittest. So the people the organisms that have the traits that are most adapted to the environment that they're in survive and on to reproduction.
That's right. Okay, good one. And who's that with?
Varghese, Miss Varghese.
It's Varghese, okay. Lily, what'd you learn this week?
So I'm in Senor Gracia's honors Spanish class, and over the past few months, we've been learning about the royal family in Spain, but this week we talked a lot about Philip II and his successors, and we learned about interior and exterior political problems with the countries.
And they've had lots of them, right?
Yeah.
Spain's been in turmoil for a long time, although a wonderful place to be, of course. Lily, you had some sort of unusual assessment this week I saw you pressing on. Was that with his class?
Yes, we have big tests. It's basically a history class in Spanish, so a lot of information to retain.
Good. It looked like you were well prepared. All right, Nicole, finish us off. What'd you learn this week?
It's the last episode. I got to talk about AP Economics.
Okay.
During our remote Wednesday class, I learned about NAIRU, which is the non-accelerating rate of unemployment, which is basically the level of unemployment that's consistent with no acceleration in inflation.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love NAIRU, non-accelerating inflation rate of unemployment. I love the phrase. Use it amongst your adult friends. They'll think, wow, you're really smart. All right, I learned something this week. One of my sisters had her 60th birthday. Of course, we weren't together, so we joined together on Zoom. And I learned that I've been using my Swiffer stuff at home wrong. The brushes and the pads of the Swiffer, I'm a Swiffer guy, and all my sisters are, and I wasn't using them correctly. And so they taught me how to use my Swiffers right.
How were you using it?
My home will be even more clean now. And that is...
What did we learn this week?
All right, thank you all for participating. Time to check in with our great King community. Not a lot happening with our King community right now for obvious reasons, but we have some stuff to fill in here. Nicole, start us off.
Congratulations to Dean Kataboski and Jack Holtz on becoming president and vice president for next year.
Okay, I think Dean won clearly on his video editing skills. Is that fair to say? Did you see the video of Dean?
Yeah.
Good video.
It was really well done. Of course, he made lots of great promises as well. But Jake, you have some video editing competition like that.
That's right.
Go ahead, Lily.
In sports news, King took on Harvey in boys varsity baseball, Hopkins in girls varsity lacrosse, boys varsity lacrosse, and girls varsity tennis. And girls junior varsity tennis took on St. Luke's.
And I had the opportunity to be on the fields for the first time this year to enjoy it. And it was a pleasant day on Saturday, so I really enjoyed that. What do you have for us, Jake?
If you are interested in running for class representative, please fill out the Google form that Miss O'Toole sent out last week by Thursday, April 29th.
Your first step into politics. You could become president in the future if you get excited about it. All right. That's enough of our great King community. We love our great King community, and it's a beautiful place to be every day. All right, now it's time for sports, and our sports guy is back. Sadly, his partner, Rahill Jaiswal, could not join us. He had other commitments, but glad to have Jack back. Jack, start us off.
Thanks, Mr. Roche. And first off, we have some sad news to report. Terrence Clark, the freshman guard for the Kentucky Wildcats, died in a car crash on Thursday. He was driving in Los Angeles and collided with a vehicle after running a red light. And that was just nearly a month after he declared for the NBA draft. The NBA and college basketball world came together on social media to come together and mourn the death of Terrence Clark. And we also, from the KingCast, send our condolences.
Jack, did you see the video?
No, I did not. Unfortunately, I haven't had time to watch it.
Unfortunately, he was cruising. He was really cruising. A sad moment. Thankfully, more people weren't hurt, but really a sad story. Just when he was about to have his career in front of him. Continue, Jack. Sorry to interrupt.
In lighter news, though, Jacob deGrom made his 187th start and put in a performance for the history books. deGrom pitched a 9-inning shutout and recorded 15 strikeouts, becoming the first Mets pitcher to record that since Al Leiter did it in 1999. The 43 strikeouts he has recorded over the past 3 starts are tied for the 4th most strikeouts in any 3-game span in MLB history. The 2-time Cy Young winner also collected 2 hits in what was a 6-0 win for the Mets. Another interesting stat, diehard Mets fan Jack Zipper has already, in 15 games, watched the most Mets games since forever, and deGrom has something to do with that. So let's give our thanks to Jacob deGrom and the Mets, who have made me hopeful of a World Series once again. Let's go to Nicole for some NBA action.
Hold on. It's been a while there, Jack. I'm glad you're excited about the Mets. A team that almost went down after the Madoff craze, right? Remember that? Do you have any sense for that, Jack?
I have literally, I started following the Mets in maybe like 2009. That's like the first time when I went to a game.
Are you familiar with the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme that almost took down the team?
Yes,
Yeah.
I am. Yeah.
So good to see them back. And by the way, Jack, I always love it when you reference yourself in the third person. Okay, sorry to interrupt, Nicole. Go.
All right, great job, Jack. It's good to have you back. And now for some NBA news. The playoffs are only a month away, and the intensity is certainly picking up. Last week, I reported on the red-hot streak of Steph Curry. He's carrying the Golden State Warriors on his back to get the team into the playoffs. He's averaging 39 points per game in April and surpassed Kobe Bryant by scoring above 30 points in 11 consecutive games. He cooled off in the Warriors game against the Wizards earlier this week, scoring only 18 points, but bounced back last night with 32 against the Nuggets. Speaking of hot streaks, my hometown team is showing flashes of greatness. The New York Knicks have won 8 games in a row, which is the first time they have done that since 2014. It's also the longest active win streak of any other team right now. The Knicks are in 4th place in the East and are hoping to have a comfortable spot as the playoffs approach. Julius Randle is clearly the MVP of the team, with strong play from Noel, Barrett, and Bullock. Last week, as I mentioned, Anthony Davis was preparing to rejoin the Lakers after being out 9 weeks with a calf strain. This past Thursday, AD rejoined the team for their game against the Mavs. He looked a little rusty and only played the first half in the game. The team is also missing LeBron James, who's out with an injury. I expect LeBron to return soon, and the team will use the last couple of weeks of the season to get back into fighting form as the playoffs approach to defend their title. Now we switch over to the NHL, where Lily Ryan has some exciting updates for us.
Thanks, Nicole. So after pulling off a series sweep against the Devils, the Rangers did not get so lucky this last week with a record of 1-2. On Tuesday, they faced off against the Islanders and came up short in a 6-1 loss. On Thursday, UMass defenseman Zach Jones made his first NHL appearance after Jacob Trouba suffered a head collision on Tuesday. They played the Flyers and lost 3-2 despite a strong effort in the third period involving a goal from Artemi Panarin. And finally, on Friday, the Rangers won 4-1 with Georgiev in net with 2 points from Alexei Lafreniere, Artemi Panarin, Mika Zibanejad, and Pavel Buchnevich. The Rangers are currently sitting in 5th in the Eastern Division, and it's looking like they may not get so lucky in getting a playoff spot based on how the Bruins are playing. In other news, the Canucks returned after delaying their season due to a COVID outbreak among members of the team. They managed to pull off an overtime win against the Maple Leafs on the 18th, which is huge considering their condition. The Sabres, Devils, and Blue Jackets are officially out of the playoff race after the losses this week. while the Las Vegas Golden Knights and Colorado Avalanche have officially clinched playoff spots. Patrick Marleau beat Gordie Howe, Mr. Hockey, by playing in his 1,768th game, along with recording 900 consecutive games played this week.
Wow, that is some record right there. Lily, do you know how old Patrick is?
He's, I believe, 43 or 42.
I know there's a lot of people that played a long time, but holy cow, to take on Gordie Howe's record. Now, Lily, you did mention the word Bruins. The Bruins are hot right now, right?
Yes, but they did lose to the Sabres, arguably, well, actually the worst team in the league right now last night.
Oh, okay, so the streak broke?
Yes, and it's going to be really difficult for the Rangers because they'd have to win 3 games in order to tie the Bruins, but there's, I want to say, less than 10 games left around the league.
And Lily, this little sentence here that you gave us, and finally on Friday, you ripped off all those names. Just amazing. Your pronunciation is fantastic.
Yeah, very
All
hard.
right, before we move out of sports, I have to ask, I don't know if anyone knows this, maybe Nicole or Jack. Does Steph Curry take any 2s, or does he only take 3s?
Well, he's 6 foot around there. Going inside is a little bit of, he's a great slasher when he's able to like drive into those lanes, but he is a 3-point shooter. That's what he's doing. And right now he has had to up his production because the Warriors aren't helping him. There's no Klay Thompson. There's no Kevin Durant. So he has to keep taking those 3s because 3 points is more than 2.
Nicole, anything?
Yeah, I mean, if you saw him in the All-Star game with the 3-point competition, he's crazy at 3-pointers.
I mean, the simple math of that, right? All the teams are realizing why shoot a 2 when you can shoot a 3. Exponential growth. All right, great job as always with the sports, Jack. Great to have you back with us this week. All right, now it's time to check in with the economy and markets. Remember, we talk about fundamentals. This is what we talk about here. You can trade and invest on fundamentals. You can trade and invest on technical analysis. We talk about data in the markets. That's fundamental analysis, responding to the performance of the U.S. economy and pricing in the new outlook for the economy. All right, as always, you start with the data for the weekend, April 23rd. Start us off, Lily.
On Friday, March new home sales 1.021 million units on an annualized basis versus 846,000 units in February.
Thursday, initial unemployment claims week ending April 17th, 576,000 versus 769,000 in the prior week. March existing home sales 6.01 million units on an annualized basis versus 6.24 million in February.
On Wednesday, MBA mortgage applications week ending April 16th, plus 8.4% versus minus 3.7% in prior week.
On Tuesday, there was no data.
Okay, a quiet week for data for sure. This is always the case just before the last week of the month. Highlights, obviously, unemployment claims down with a 5-handle again. Great news there. Housing, hot as it can be, right? Record numbers of new home sales, 6.01 million units, unbelievable. And mortgage applications, the first positive increase in mortgage applications in 5 weeks. So good news there. Home affordability remains the problem. Oh, Lily, I forgot about Monday.
Monday, no data as well.
Thank you for that. Okay, sorry about that. And now for the week we're in here, April 26th. What do we have? Start us off, Jake.
For Monday, we got March durable goods orders.
Tuesday, April consumer confidence.
Wednesday, MBA mortgage applications week ending April 23rd, March international trade goods balance, and the federal interest rate decision.
On Thursday, initial unemployment claims week ending April 24th, Q1 advanced GDP, and March pending home sales.
For Friday, April Chicago PMI, University of Michigan consumer sentiment.
Okay, so some interesting data. Durable goods orders will get market attention. Of course, mortgage applications, see if we get 2 weeks in a row of positive news there. The Fed interest rate decision on Wednesday, expected to leave the federal funds rate unchanged at 0 to 0.25%, continuing the quantitative easing program. And our first look at Q1 advanced GDP, remember we had Mr. Mackey on a few weeks ago. He's predicting a 5 to 6% jump in Q1. All right, that finishes up our last economy in the markets. Why don't we now check on market price action, see how it relates to data.
S&P 500, 4,180.17, up 5 points.
NASDAQ 14,016.81, down 35.
3-month Treasury 0.025%, unchanged.
10-year Treasury, 1.56%, down 1.6 basis points.
30-year Treasury, 2.235%, down 2.7 basis points.
Euro dollar 1.2100, up 120 pips.
Dollar yen 107.91, down 87 pips.
Sterling 1.387, up 40 pips.
Dollar CAD 1.2480, down 30 pips.
West Texas Intermediate $62.04, down $1.07.
Brent, $66.12, down 61 cents.
Gasoline $1.99, up 5 cents.
Gold $1,776.70, down 130.
Okay, great news there. Mixed equities on the week, spooked by President Biden's capital gains tax hike proposal. A flatter yield curve as the long end interest rates come off a little bit. No more concerns about inflation this week. Dollar was lower across the board, reaching near-term highs against the euro. Energy is lower on global COVID concerns out of India. Things are really going crazy in India with respect to COVID. And gold remains range-bound side up at cryptocurrencies that have taken over the new hedge of inflation. Meanwhile, even though Jake has done a wonderful job editing our Kingcast every week, if you went back to our first show and listened to all of you do markets compared to how you do it today, wow, fantastic. The learning curve is as flat as could be. You guys have nailed it. I love Lily just with West Texas Intermediate. You know, day one, it was like, what are we doing? So really fun stuff to see for me as your host and of course as one of your teachers. Okay, let's do friendly reminders. Nicole, start us off.
I just have to say, on behalf of all of us, we also really thank you for teaching us so much this season.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's very
absolutely.
sweet. That's very sweet. You've been an amazing team.
Yeah, okay. So friendly reminders, do your reading.
Do your homework.
Come to class prepared.
Use your blinker when making turns or switching lanes.
Stop signs mean stop.
And no texting while driving. You'll get killed that way. All right, before we close out, thank you all. You did a fantastic job. Really impressive. Learning curve was there for a bit, flattened out. Maybe we'll get to do this again next year if we can. We'd love to have you back. Jake, for the extra effort doing our editing each week, we really appreciate it. You did a great job there. I hope you'll enjoy having your Saturday mornings free again for a little while. I know I'm looking forward to it. And so that is it for us for the season 3, episode 18. We'll be back for the season 4 in the fall, hopefully. Thanks again to my great team, Jack Zipper, Lily Ryan, Jake Murphy, Nicole Roer, and of course, shout out to our boy RJ, Rahill Jaiswal, who can't be with us tonight. As always, tell your friends and family to listen to Kingcast at kingschoolct.org campus life page. And we're out of here.